From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Well, happy Monday morning to you. Still have a lot to talk about, of course, so we're going to start with the fires locally. That's what we want to do, is really start local here, and then we'll talk about Hillary, the impacts it had on Southern California, and the impacts it'll have on us as we take you through the day as well. Now, I want to start with the high resolution satellite, that is. And what this is doing is it's on a setting here that it detects the heat coming in from the fires. So what we've seen here overnight, it's the Smith River complex where we're seeing the bulk of the activity here. You can kind of just see it kind of flaring up and down and all the different fires that are within that complex here. So as you start getting into those oranges and even the really bright oranges, that's where we're seeing it hot. Now, the thing is, even though we're not seeing those burning here, the signatures here, they're still active. All the fires in Northwest California, they're just not burning as hot as the Smith River complex. So just kind of keep that in mind. Don't let that deter you in thinking exactly what's going on with those fires. All right, so what we're doing here is we're going to take a look at the fire tracker. Now, there's something new. If you haven't watched in a while, there's something new that I've done here. I've got this legend up here, because what you're going to notice here is I don't just have the fire perimeters in there. I've got the latest fire perimeters in here from last night around 11 o'clock or so. We might get another update earlier this morning, so be sure to check into the noon hour to see those latest fire perimeters there. But what we're seeing here is the fire perimeters, and then within and around those fire perimeters, you'll see colors. And we're going to go into that a little bit more clearly here. So let's take a look at, we're going to start with the head fire. This is the one in Siskiyou County. So what we're seeing here, you see the reds? This is indicating that this is the most recent activity that the satellite has detected when we're talking heat signatures. When you start getting into the yellows here, so orange and yellow, indicating it's older data, meaning it hasn't been as active in that part of the fire, say over the last 24 to 48 hours. Then, of course, you start getting those gray colors and it's just old data. Don't really have to be concerned about that. So we still have the fire perimeters in there, and that's what I'm still going to use as distances from different communities, is the official and latest fire perimeter map coming in. I don't want to use these heat signatures because they can be a little inaccurate as far as the overall placement of them, but it gives you a general idea, again, of where most of the activity has been. So there you can see, again, the overall general idea of the distances from these different communities from the different fire perimeters. Okay, so what we're seeing here, Syed Valley from the northwest side of the head fire. We're also looking at Happy Camp, and you've got Ufish and Malone Fire to be tracking here as far as the distances from Happy Camp, and those are about 6.5 miles from Happy Camp. We take you to the south end of the head fire, and not to mention the Scott fire here, about 14.2 miles there, and a bit farther distance from the head fire, and there you can see Wairika and Fort Jones as well. Here's a look at the deep fire. We've seen most of the activity really over the last few days on the south side of the fire here is indicated by the red. It has been inching closer to the Trinity Alps Resort. Firefighters have done what they can to help protect that resort there. But there you can see some of the other distance here from Coffee Creek, Trinity Center, and Covington Mill. Let's take you to the south here, and you can see Highway 299 and still over approximately 10 miles plus from those communities. Here is a look at the Smith River complex, several different fires in there. That's the one you saw on that satellite image at the very top of this update here with those kind of flaring up and down here. So I've taken the perimeters that are closest to these communities, and that's what's going to give you the distance from each of those fires. Let's take you down to the south where we've got the Perch Fire. Now you can see the main perimeter is right here from the Perch Fire. We do have this kind of intruding outside of that, but this is where most of the activity that we've seen over the last 24 hours or so on the south side of the Perch Fire, 2.3 miles from Orleans, and of course you've got the Bluff Complex to the northwest of Orleans at this point. Now we can see here on the Lone Pine Fire, so the most activity has been on the south side of the fire here. And that was really what I've seen even over the last couple of days. It's mainly been the most activity on the south side of the fire, 4.4 miles. Now I want to zoom in tighter because what we're seeing here, and this is something new that I saw since last night, this little area right here is part of that fire perimeter. Now, of course, you got the river, right? And you're on the east side and north side of that river. We want to keep it on that side, right? So hopefully they can keep it from hopping over. But of course, here is Hoopa. I mean, this is the main part of the community here. So yeah, that fire is certainly uncomfortably close, and it's certainly something that I'll continue to monitor and track here for you very closely. In the meantime, we take a look at the pilot fire down to the south here. High and Palm 5.5, 12.2 from Mad River, and Dinsmore about 9.2. And we take a look at a fairly new fire, only probably at this point more than this, but approximately 30 to maybe 40 acres. So a fairly small fire in comparison, right? And you can see here that it's about 14.7 miles from Hayfork. High and Palm, don't have to be worried about this fire here, but of course the sulfur fire as well. Hopefully it doesn't grow to be much larger. There's the Mad River distance there, and Dinsmore about 7 miles. Off to the north and west, we have the Lost Fire. Now, the west side of the fire hasn't seen much activity, but I have seen some growth in that fire perimeter here over the last 24 hours on the west side, bringing it a little bit closer, at least the fire perimeter, to Berry Glen, and not to mention Oric. But you can see on the east side of the fire, I've also seen a little bit of growth right here as well, bringing it about 5.1 miles from Johnson. All right, so we're done with fire coverage now. Let's talk about the forecast and what Hillary is going to be doing as far as bringing us any rainfall. And yes, we've got rain in the forecast. I just don't anticipate as much for the actual coast. Inland and Trinity County, I think you're going to see some decent rainfall out of this, but it's also going to be much cooler. And bottom line, less thunderstorm activity this week. What a great thing to be able to report. Less lightning strikes, but not necessarily today. I still think we're going to see some lightning strikes today. The coast will see some showers, especially in Humboldt County. Del Norte County, there's a chance you may not even see a drop of rain. And that's unfortunate because that's where one of the bigger fires is, and we're not going to get a lot of rainfall on top of that. But we don't need the lightning strikes. We're still seeing that potential for lightning strikes this afternoon on top of the rain that we're going to see. Now, this is the overall temperature trend. It is going to be warming up, but it's not going to be warming up by a whole lot. We're still going to keep those temperatures fairly mild in comparison to what we saw last week. So here's what we have. We've got the remnants from Hillary, a lot of rainfall over Southern California, then move northward, and you can see the bulk of the rain at this point is kind of to the east of California. But what we've got here, you can see this little spin. This is an area of low pressure to our south. What that's doing is the counterclockwise rotation around that low, it's tapping in to the remnants of Hillary and then taking that and transporting it right over Northern California. So that's the moisture source for the rain that we're going to see today. So let's take a look at Futurecast. Starting this morning, most of it's down to the south, southern Trinity County and southern Humboldt County as well. But this is all very light, by the way. It's not very heavy. Now, as we take you through the afternoon or through the morning to about the noon hour, what I'm watching here is actually seeing kind of a line that's going to kind of just hold on throughout the day. So here's the noon hour today. Most of the rain in Trinity County. We're not seeing much to the north, so it looks like Del Norte and even Humboldt County not seeing much rain at this point. So again, we go through the afternoon, and again, notice that line I was talking about. You see how it just kind of stays centered over this area. So this is an area that we got to watch for maybe the potential for flooding. This is especially if we get some of these rains kind of sticking around for a long time and some of the heavier rainfall. So we could see some embedded thunderstorms where you're seeing yellows, oranges, and reds. But notice just not much activity here for Del Norte and Humboldt counties. Now, as we go into tonight, it's pretty much gone. Now, the thing is, there's going to be some leftover moisture on Tuesday, so we could see a stray shower or thunderstorm pop up as we go into Tuesday afternoon. Not very widespread, nothing major is expected, but unfortunately that would mean more lightning strikes. We'll have to kind of wait and see as we get into Tuesday. But by Wednesday, we're done. We're not seeing any more showers. We're not seeing any more thunderstorms. Now we look at the forecast rainfall totals, and you can see this is that line I was talking about where we're seeing the heaviest amounts of rainfall. It might be overdoing it for Mount Shasta City, but you get the idea. This is where we're seeing most of the rain, but look it off to the west. It's indicating maybe a trace to maybe a few hundredths for parts of the coast, and that very well may be the case, but overall, we're not going to see much rain for Del Norte or Humboldt counties in general. There's a look at Hillary's path moving itself off to the north. It's really not going to have a huge impact on us. This is the rainfall totals as estimated by the radar. So what it's doing is taking the rain that the radar has seen, and it's projecting its overall estimations on rainfall totals. A lot of yellow on the map here indicating 2 to close to 4 inches of rain. Where you see some of the red here, this is going to be 4 to 6 inches plus. Now, I did look at some of the rainfall totals over the last 48 hours this morning for this area, and some of the highest totals I did see were between 6 and 7 inches. Now, that's a lot of rainfall in a short period of time, and that, of course, does mean that there was some flooding down in Southern California. I haven't seen or heard of any reports of mudslides or free flows. That may change as time goes on and we start getting more reports. But it does not seem, based on my overall what I'm seeing here, it does not seem as though we saw a catastrophic event in Southern California. It did bring them plenty of rainfall, and it did bring them some winds, but not to a catastrophic level. That, of course, then shifted itself off to the north, and what we're looking at here are the rainfall totals as we take you through Tuesday, and just not a ton of rainfall, and we're not seeing as much of that either. Now, we take a look at the winds. Now, this morning, the strongest winds are still going to be kind of over Southern California and into Nevada. Take you into about the second half of the day, the winds are pretty much done. We're just not going to see a lot of winds out of this either. So you can see as we go into Tuesday afternoon, winds no longer a factor anymore. And Hillary should have become a thing of the past by the time we get into tomorrow. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got going on with locally now. We take you back to those wave heights, 6 p.m. today. We're starting to see those wave heights begin to drop a little bit here, and there you can see Tuesday, much lower, around 5 feet. So certainly some good news if you're out there boating. Taking a look at your marine forecast for today, north winds at 10 to 20 knots, waves from the northwest at 11 feet at 10 seconds. And your low tide this morning at 9:21 this morning, your high tide at 4:07 this afternoon. So that hazardous seas today, but again, they're going to be dropping by tomorrow. There you can see the showers, maybe some thunderstorms. This again is where the heavier rainfall will be, less rain as you head off to the west. And we take a look at your 7-day outlook. Yeah, look at this. I don't even have any rain for you in Crescent City. Yeah, you may see a stray sprinkle, but that's it. Most of it will be in Hoopa and Weaverville. I've still kept that slight chance on Tuesday, but overall, really drying out and staying cooler for this week. Let's take a look at your 7-day outlook for Eureka. And there you have it. We've got those temperatures in the mid-60s. A few showers today, but nothing heavy even for Eureka. Should be dry the rest of the week with temperatures in the mid-60s.